Let me first state that I'm proud of the American people for voting for Barack. Not so much because I think he's a great candidate, which I totally disagree with, as I would with just about any political figure, but mostly because the actual in states like Indiana, Virginia, and Ohio, and Florida that all went with George W. Bush and this time went with Obama, which I think is a good sign, and I'm proud of that because it shows that people were at least observant enough to realize that George W. Bush sucks and change their agendas, and that alone means that people are at least somewhat aware, even though I think most people are asleep in this country, not to mention the world, but I kind of I'm proud of that, but when it comes to Barack's policies, I don't really see that much difference between Barack Obama or McCain. There's slight differences. I don't really see anything to get excited about, and I think people are getting overly excited, and I think that generally people don't really understand either what political leaders are about, which is power, or they really don't understand his policies 100%. You give me a candidate that is totally anti-Israel or doesn't really care about the Middle East situation, and that will be a real candidate that I will think is different. Or give me a candidate that's for, getting rid of government control. And then I'll be shocked because almost all the presidents are for a lot of government control, more government spending, more military spending, more prison spending, more control over people. It's all the same when I look at it. It's a classic quote of the Libertarian Party. Can't see the difference, then vote Libertarian. I think people are a little naive about Barack. I think that he stands for something more than he actually does. I think that's respectable that he has tax cut for the rich. Because under the Bush plan, for instance, Warren Buffett, his secretary was taxed 37%, while Warren Buffett was taxed 14% of his income. So Warren Buffett's the richest man, and that is an unfair tax, and I do blame Bush, and I think that's fucked up. But, I agree with that, but, at the same time, you have companies like ExxonMobil and a lot of other companies who say if Barack Obama does increase the taxes on the richest, then they will lay off people and take away jobs, which is why you always have to have a balance, and that's why the centralized politics are sometimes the best, where the fringe voters are the ones that stay away from. But I heard that ExxonMobil pays as much taxes as like the middle class does all in America. So they say if they get raised taxes, then they will lay off a lot of people, which is not exactly good. I think people are generally a little mixed up about Barack Obama's foreign policies. He's not exactly Gandhi, and I know he's not going to exactly be, as people say, anti-war. He is extremely pro-Israel. He's against Jimmy Carter's talks of peace in Israel, which I think is stupid. I think Jimmy Carter was quite weak. It was pretty crappy, but I think the Israeli talks he did have was the one thing I did respect. The Palestinians were in Israel years before the state of Israel was ever there, so we should at least be able to hear out the opinions of the Palestinians. I'm not saying the exact terrorist organizations, but at least have some kind of fair opinions over there. Barack Obama states that the biggest threat to the Middle East and Israel is Iran, and he does state that he will not take actions of military in Iran off the table, which means thinking about it. And it's kind of like a bullshitting way. He says, firsthand, he says that Israel is extremely important. I'm so pro-Israel. He's pro-Ariel Sharon, which is a little far out there, to be honest. Ariel Sharon's another douchebag. I think it's pretty ridiculous. But if he's so pro-Israel and he says Iran's the biggest threat to Israel, and then he says military options are not laid off the table, that's kind of a bullshitting way of saying that, yes, I am most likely going to attack Iran, but I'm don't have the balls to tell the American public because I want to get elected for this election. I personally see Barack Obama being similar to Lyndon Johnson, someone who is a Democrat, who is not only very social and racks up spending deficits, but who will also be totally pro-war. I think Lyndon Johnson was one of the worst presidents to ever be. I think he's just as bad, if not worse, than George W. Bush. When you think about it, we're already in debt. We don't need someone who's going to go on a spending spree and go. Barack Obama also wants to go and have military actions to Pakistan. They have nuclear weapons. This is not Iraq. They have about a much larger population. And they also have much better military. Iran's not Iraq either. Iran will get Russian support, the backing of Russia, Russian troops. Both Iran and Pakistan will probably be as bad as Vietnam, maybe even worse. If you have Iran being backed by Russia, I think it could be easily worse than Vietnam. I think Iran is probably stronger than Vietnam was back then, and much like how we had a stalemate in Vietnam because of the Chinese funding the northern side, we will not really have any allies in the Middle East if we attack Iran. So we had the South Vietnamese on our side during the Vietnam War. This time we would have no allies except for maybe overseas, but we would have no localized allies. The closest thing we would have is Georgia, which is about the size of Rhode Island. We cannot really think that for some reason Georgia's gonna be our great ally and save us from the war in Iran. It could be really dangerous if we do get involved with Iran because, like I said, we don't have anyone backing us up there. We're going to have Russians backing them up. And even China. China themselves in the past have supported Iran. I think China's sucking our dick so much because of capitalism, but there's still not a chance that not only Russia, but China themselves will back up Iran from oil reasons. So, that's not really a good idea, and both presidents are for going in there. The idea, I understand people are afraid of war and problems, but it's been the same kind of crap. We funded Shah of Iran, we funded Saddam Hussein, we funded Stalin, we funded Osama bin Laden. We funded all the people we started to hate, including the communist parties. If we didn't fund and back Stalin in the first place, the communism wouldn't have gotten out of hand like it did in the first place. So many of these problems are our own fuck-ups and that we're going to go up, and then we're just making more and more fuck-ups. Barack Obama also thinks that although he's for trying to keep the peace in Georgia, which is not happening very well, he also says that Georgia is a key issue, and that we could have, if the peaceful actions don't go around, we could have a war. So Pakistan, Iran, and Georgia. McCain does have a little bit more aggressive policies towards Iran and Georgia versus Russia. But I generally think that Barack Obama has very similar ideals against these countries, but rather Obama's a little more quiet about it, a little more sneaky, and a little bit more bullshitting, to be politically correct to get elected. Barack Obama supported 65,000 plus 27,000 more Marines, 27,000 more Marines, and 65 more thousand troops to be hired in the year 2007, 2008. So, why would Barack Obama be for hiring all these soldiers if he was not for another war? It's a little suspicious, to be honest. And I'm not saying that, as I said, I don't like either candidate, but the idea of getting excited over pretty much any politician winning is, I think, a little far-fetched. I don't see anything to get excited about. I'll get excited when he actually is in office. He's not even in office yet. Who knows if he ever will be. You do realize that there's a terror attack. Bush could have martial law and never go out of office. So, just because he's elected, he's not in the White House now. So, there's still a chance we could have other problems.